Welcome back to Mr. Orr's Flipped Classroom for Grammar. Today we're going to do some practicing together in identifying and fixing fragments, run-ons, and comma splices. The directions for today in these order are: highlight all verbs, underline and label the simple subjects as SS, put a plus after all fanboys, those are coordinating conjunctions, for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so, put a minus after all because or if subordinating conjunctions. Then we're going to identify what it is. Fragment, run-on, comma splice. We'll delete the two that aren't correct. And then finally, we have to fix the sentence error. Let's do a few of these with my lead and then turn you loose to work either on your own or with some of your classmates. Walking down the street. Looking at that, seems like we have a verb, walking. Simple subject. Who is walking down the street? Sentence doesn't say, so it tells us we're missing a simple subject. And we'll keep going with these steps. Fanboys, for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. Nope, none of those. Because or if subordinating conjunctions. Because, if, since. No, don't see those. Then you have to decide, is it a fragment, run-on, or comma splice? Well, since we already decided that there's no simple subject, that tells us immediately that it is, in fact, a fragment. Now, the last step is actually the one that takes the most thought, creativity, and why it's a really good idea to work together with this. Walking down the street, we know it needs a simple subject, but who or what should we do with that? Again, don't worry about this necessarily making a ton of sense, because again, you don't know the context. That's partly why it's so difficult for you to revise or fix somebody else's work. You can point out the problem to them. If they ask for suggestions, you may offer them, but you may have to ask questions of them first, saying, what did you mean by this? One thing I will also clue you in is that these 10 sentences, typically with Grammar Labs, they go together, kind of like they're a paragraph. They're numbered out one by one, so it's easier to identify where you're fixing things and how many changes you need to make. So for lack of a better, more creative idea, I'm going to say I was walking down the street. I'm going to, of course, make that a lowercase w. And was walking. Now, actually, I'm going to leave was highlighted because that is, in fact, also a verb. Now, some of you may not be too familiar with helping verbs or linking verbs, but we'll get to that later time. Who was walking? Well, now that I've added it, I can underline it and say that I was walking. So I is a simple subject. Notice that as I add this, I'm going to still make sure I know what the simple subject is. Who was walking? I was. So I was walking down the street. That's now a complete sentence, and we'll leave it. You don't need to change the label fragment because it was a fragment before, but you fixed it by adding a simple subject. Number 2, two complete strangers dressed as detectives, each wearing a monocle. Now, if you don't know what a monocle is that single kind of eyeglass piece. If you've ever seen the picture of Mr. Monopoly from the Monopoly game, it's an eyeglass. Sometimes it's attached to a cord or a chain, but it's kind of like an eyeglass, but it's just one. It's something very commonly done in classic depictions of detectives. Two complete strangers dressed as detectives. Again, before I try to figure out what it is, I want to find out what I have. I'm going to check the dressed. Here, ed tells me it's probably a verb. Wearing, I'm going to also call that a verb. So who was dressed? I'm going to go with strangers. So I see a subject here is the answer to the question of who was dressed. Who was wearing? Now, you might want to say detectives, but look what's right in front of it, the word each. It's really important that we don't mistake the simple subject, the wrong word. So each was wearing a monocle. So now, again, looking at this, I'm going to keep checking for fanboys. Again, don't jump to the end. Follow your steps. It'll take you to the place where you know what you're doing, kind of like showing your work in a math problem. Fanboys, for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. None of those. Subordinating conjunctions. Okay, because, if, since, no, not any of those. All right, so now I have to go back to it and say, okay, do I have a run-on or a comma splice? So I have no punctuation or fragment. I have no punctuation anywhere inside of there, so I can't have a comma splice because there's no commas. So I can get rid of that one. Is it a run-on or a fragment? Well, I've got a subject and a verb, subject and a verb. I don't have fanboys or subordinate conjunctions in a wonky spot because I don't have any of those. So I'm going to go with it's a run-on. Now, if it's a run-on, I've got two sentences. So the question becomes, where do I break these two sentences up? Well, subject, verb, where does that first sentence end? Two complete strangers dressed as detectives, each wearing a monocle. If I'm not sure, I can read that and pause. Two complete strangers dressed as detectives, each wearing a monocle. No, I think the first time is better off. And again, period, capital letter. And again, you can do the comma fanboys if you so choose. That's the great thing about fixing it, is that you make it your own. Now, two complete strangers dressed as detectives. I feel like it needs something there. So I'm going to add a helping verb just to make it more smooth. And it's okay if you're not sure about highlighting it or not, but if you're adding it to make the verb make sense, then it's going to be also a verb. So each was wearing a monocle. Now I got two complete sentences. They work just fine. All right, number 3, let's go ahead and slow it down and give you a chance to kind of figure this out with some support. One tripped over his shoelaces, the other ran into a tree. Take a couple seconds and see if you can find a verb in this sentence. Again, because you find one doesn't mean you're done. See if you can find more than one, but start by finding one. All right, how'd you do? I see tripped. I see ran. So, simple subject. Who tripped over his shoelaces? One. You might say, well, it doesn't say a person. Doesn't matter. The one tells us who did that. So it's kind of like a pronoun. Who ran into a tree? Other. Again, might be stretching your understanding a little bit of subject and pronouns, and that's okay. That's why you have the ability to work with others, and you also can come back and check with me to see how you did. So one tripped over his shoelaces, the other ran into a tree. All right, let's check our fanboys. For, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. Nope, because if, no. Okay, now we're checking to see if it's a fragment, run, or a comma splice. Okay, well, we found subject, verb, no fanboys, no because of, since. So we're okay. So we're not looking at that being fragments, so we can get rid of that. Question is run on or comma splice. Do we have two thoughts here? Yep. Do we have a comma separating them? Sure do. So again, we have a comma splice now because we have essentially a run-on, the comma separating the two halves of the sentence. One tripped over his shoelaces. That could be a period, capital letter T. So again, comma splice, like other run-ons, you can do comma fanboys, or you could do period, capital letter. I like the idea of changing it up. Okay. Let's do two more together that I'll turn you loose. Uncovered a mystery unlike anything else. Go ahead and pause it, and then see if you can decide if you can see any verbs, simple subjects, fanboys, subordinate conjunctions, and what type of error it is. Go ahead and hit the pause on the video and take 30 seconds to a minute and see if you can figure it out. All right. Hopefully you restarted your video, and then we'll see how you did. Uncovered is going to be a verb. A mystery unlike anything before. None of those other things are verbs. Who uncovered? Doesn't say. If I keep with the sentence, I'm going to get these two strangers just like detectives. I'm going to think maybe I can do just a they. Again, we're doing simple subjects are underlined and labeled. They uncovered, and I'm going to fix that capital letter to lowercase. Again, I didn't find a simple subject there. I have no fanboys, for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. I have no because, if, since. I didn't find a subject, so there's a fragment. Last one together, and the other 5 you'll do as with partners or on your own. If they located the clues. Again, pause, Follow your steps. See how far you can get. See if this time you can actually not just identify what it is, but try to fix it on your own. All right, and you're back. Let's see how you did. Verb located. Who located? They located. And boys, for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. Nope. Because if, up, I got an if. So I'm going to put a minus sign there to let me know I found a subordinate conjunction. Now, to do that, if they located the clues, does that feel complete? Nope. Because again, if you have a subordinated conjunction first, a because, if, since, to start a sentence, you have to have simple subject, verb, comma, rest of a sentence. So we got two possibilities. Again, we can comma and add a sentence to it. Like, by the way, this is a fragment. Or we can add something to the beginning of it and leave the period in lowercase the I and if. So can we combine it with the previous sentence? They uncovered a mystery unlike anything before if they located the clues. So that doesn't combine well. 6. If they located the clues, a visually sensitive method worked best. The two found microscopic evidence near the curb. No, that doesn't work. So if we do this, we might say we have to add something. And again, this is why it's great to work together. I'm not sure what to do. Maybe they could do something like this. They might be able to solve it. And if you're even not sure, you can say, well, I'm not sure that located sounds like if they located the clues. What if I tried it as if they locate the clues? You don't have to make that change, but if you feel like it sounds better, do it. All right, I know this is a tricky activity for you. That's why I want you to work together. I don't want you to work on your own unless you feel super, super confident about it. 6 through 10, I want you to do at least 3 of those, if not all 5, in the next 10 minutes. Check with your teacher when you're done. If you have questions, we'll go through those before, as a class, we go to the activity that follows this. Keep going. Don't give up on yourself. You've got this, and I've got you.